Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. Well, a lot to talk about, but let's start with a very interesting topic, and that is, of course, the New Orleans Pelicans, who beat the Miami Heat on Saturday night. Their most significant win of the year, Lenny, no question, and maybe one of their most significant wins in recent history. And, of course, tonight they get a team in the Brooklyn Nets who are playing great, but they're coming off of an overtime game at Dallas last night. So this sets up very well for the Pelicans.
It should, but how many times have we seen teams coming in on the second half of a back-to-back? You think the Pelicans are set up in good position, and sometimes it doesn't work out that way. That's just the nature of the NBA sometimes. You think you're catching a tired team or whatever the case may be, and it's not necessarily the case. So, yeah, good weekend for the Pelicans. A road win in Atlanta on Friday in which they scored more than 40 points in the fourth quarter to come back and win that game. And then obviously their best win of the year on Saturday against the Heat. A Heat team playing without Dwayne Wade. It was a Pelicans team playing without Eric Gordon. Perhaps we'll know more about what his status is for the week to come. But they are at home Monday, Wednesday, Friday before they head out on Saturday. It's been a month of March where they've spent a lot of the month at home. Hasn't necessarily translated into a number of wins, but certainly the home atmosphere on Saturday parlayed itself into a win.
Not enough superlatives to describe Anthony Davis and the way he's played. 30-10 the last three games. Unbelievable stretch to where there's no doubt that he's lifted himself into the upper echelon of NBA players. I've said top 15. He may be closing in on top 10 the way he's playing.
Yeah, it was interesting during the broadcast on Saturday night. They were trying to invoke him into the MVP discussion. I wouldn't go that far, but
That's a bit much.
Yeah, but he has certainly got to lead the discussion for most improved player in the league. At this point, I would think it would be a surprise if he's not the most improved player in the league. There's some other candidates out there, but where he's taken his game from year one to year two is certainly significant for the future of this franchise.
I think he rates that because of the fact that he's only a second-year player. A guy like Goran Dragic, who's had an unbelievable year in Phoenix and is the reason they're in playoff contention, certainly would merit that consideration, but he's an older player in terms of being in the league, so we'll see. Speaking of basketball, March Madness continues. Remarkable weekend, remarkable games again. Sweet 16 is here. 3 teams from California, 3 teams from the SEC, and I guess the biggest story would be the fact that big names are gone, with the exception of a few. Kentucky, UCLA are still around. But you look at the most recent ones to be knocked out. North Carolina got knocked out by an Iowa State team that was missing its best player, arguably, at center, and Dang, who was out of the game, injured. And then, of course, you look at what happened to several of the other big-name programs that got eliminated. It's remarkable. Kansas is out. I could go on, and the big names are largely gone, and that's not such a bad thing.
Well, think about this. For the first time since 1979, we have a Sweet 16 without a team from the state of North Carolina, which has pretty much always been North Carolina or Duke. Wake Forest has carried the banner, North Carolina State once in a while, but it has been 35 years since we've had a Sweet 16 without a team from the state of North Carolina, and that's what we have this time around. So you talk about some of those blue bloods, that's, North Carolina, Duke, you put them right up at the top of the list of those so-called blue bloods. I tell you what, Friday night in Indianapolis, last one out of the state of Kentucky, turn off the lights, huh? Kentucky and Louisville.
Get a ticket for that, yeah.
And what was interesting is earlier last week, they were selling, of course, you got a 70,000-seat stadium there in Lucas Oil, but they were selling tickets on Groupon or one of the discount platforms to buy tickets for the regional. How'd you like to have those in your hand right now? There's tickets going for 4 figures for this game right now.
Unreal. It should be great to watch, and we certainly look forward to it. The LSU women are in the NCAA tournament, and they won by 20 points over Georgia Tech yesterday. Solid performance. They get the number 2 seed in their region in West Virginia tomorrow.
West Virginia's really good if you haven't had a chance to see them play. They beat Baylor in Waco earlier this year. That's an outstanding team. It will be a tough test for Nikki Caldwell's team to have a chance to go to the Sweet 16, but the good news is they've got them in Baton Rouge.
And the LSU men in the NIT second round at Dallas against SMU. And Larry Brown's team tonight, Louisiana Tech, already has won their second round game at Georgia. Looked really good in the process.
Yeah, in the first half they were sensational and just kind of held on in the second half. And congratulations to Mike White and his team. A chance maybe to play a quarterfinal game at home. They'll either play Georgetown at home or go to Florida State. They'll have to wait and find out what happens tonight.
LSU kisses its sister in baseball, 2-0-1. A tie with Georgia. Curfew got them. They have no one to blame but themselves. Left the bases loaded twice in the last 2 innings and could have gotten a runner home from third with 2 outs. Didn't do it. Didn't score on a double play ball with a runner at third earlier in the game. So pitching, that was the story. McCune gets knocked out. He goes through one inning, and then their bullpen pitches shutout baseball the rest of the way.
Yeah, the LSU, except for the one inning by McCune, how good was LSU's pitching this week? I mean, it was fabulous. Nola was off his game and still combined on a shutout. Jared Poche took a no-hitter into the 6th inning on Saturday and pitched 8 2/3 brilliant innings on Saturday night. And in the bullpen yesterday, just picking up the slack and doing a tremendous job.
Tulane wins 2 out of 3 from Middle Tennessee. Couldn't finish the sweep. UNO won 1 of 3 at Houston Baptist. Southeastern win yesterday. Nicholls State had a good weekend as well. So, again, college baseball pretty solid. Tough loss for Delgado. Had a big league. Lost at Eunice to LSU Eunice and lost 2 out of 3 in that series.
Yeah, Joe Sherman taking the blame for that one yesterday. He said, hey, players win games, coaches lose games a lot of times. You could definitely chalk up the ladder yesterday. Blew a big lead, had a comfortable lead in that game on Sunday and let it get away. A chance to go win 2 out of 3 on the road against a very good LSU Eunice program.
Last but certainly not least, the professional golf tournament, the Zurich Classic, coming to New Orleans. End of April, different dates this year. I think the dates will serve them better. Quite frankly, get away from the NFL draft. Jazz Fest gets some more attention in the process. And the defending champion Billy Horschel in town today out of the University of Florida. And he broke through last year. He's a good player, but we figure to see some more breakthroughs at this tournament this year.
Seems to always be. This is a good tournament for some of these breakthrough players. And, one of the things that you've noticed as a trend here over the last 2 or 3 years is the guys who play well in this tournament play well in majors. I don't know what it is, if it's something about the TPC Louisiana course that sets you up well for major championship play, or maybe it's just a good coincidence, but that has been the case in recent years, that the guys who play well here, finish 1, 2, 3 in the field here, go on to play well pretty quickly in one of those majors.
And don't forget high school baseball on radio Tuesday night. It's Rummel Jesuit. Should be an awfully good game at Kirsch Rooney Stadium, 7 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM. And the first NBC Bank Prep Showcase continues on Friday night on SportsNOLA.com and on Saturday at WHNO.
Well, let's change that. It's Thursday.
Friday.
Thursday afternoon. The great rivalry in St. Charles Parish. Had Destrehan Hanville, 4 o'clock. Of course, they don't have lights out there. 4 o'clock. You can watch it live here on SportsNOLA.com. Friday night at 8 o'clock. Catch it on WHNO.
We'll get it right eventually. It's all good. Look forward to it. Lenny, have a great week.
All right. See you later this week.
That's our First NBC Bank Weekend Review, brought to you by First NBC Bank with 32 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNOLA.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great week and God bless.